welcome to Smell the Flowers Yoga. My name's Jessica Flowers, and today I have for you a gentle flow class that will help you to connect with your chakra energy centers that are up and down your spine. So I'm just going to come to a comfortable seat. I invite you to do the same. We won't need really too many props for the practice today. Just perhaps a block or two. If you like, you might want a blanket to add a little extra padding under your knees or to sit on. But other than that, no specific props needed for the practice. So just coming to your comfortable seat, I'll talk about the chakras are a pretty complicated energy system. So I'm going to very much simplify it today just to bring one sort of perspective of how you might think about your chakras, and we'll bring energy into those various different areas as we go about our practice. So to start with, you can think about this area in your root or Muladhara and Svadhisthana. These are your lower chakras around your sacrum area. And this area of our body, physically, you can think of that's where our reproductive organs are really. And so if you think about that area and its involvement in creation, you can kind of think about if there's something in your life that you would like to create or cultivate more of, you can start thinking about that creation starting in this area. And then moving up a little bit higher around this area of your navel, this is your Manipura chakra. And in this area in our physical body is where a lot of our digestion occurs. This area is often thought of as like the fire element, and if you think about digesting your food, you can think about a lot of fire energy needed for that, and you can think about that as transformation. So you may have this idea, this seed that you're maybe thinking about planting and creating, and then this, as you move a little bit higher, that's kind of taking that seed, that idea, and moving it more towards transformation or creation. Taking that creation and being more active in this area. And then moving a little bit higher, you have your Anahata, or your heart chakra. And this is just an area where you can check in with yourself, see if this is coming from a place of love and compassion, whatever it is that you're wanting to cultivate more of. Moving a little bit higher, we have our throat chakra, the Vishuddha, and this is the area where you can think about having open and clear communication. So maybe you have this idea, you've started to transform it a little bit, you're sure it's coming from a place of love and compassion, but maybe you're stuck in communicating this as much as you would like. So you could focus on bringing more energy into that area. And then next we move to Ajna, or our third eye chakra, right here between our eyebrows. And this is an area where you can think about that as being your intuition, your center of intuition, imagination. So just being open to whatever ideas might flow in. Maybe your logical mind is taking over and kind of suppressing some of these ideas that you might be wanting to create and bring forth. So really just allowing your intuition and your imagination to be open in this process. And then finally you have your Sahasrara, or your crown chakra here above your head area. And this is where you can think about just connecting to your higher power, letting go, letting some things pass over to something greater than yourself. And I like to think about like connecting with the universe and just that positive energy that exists out, that the universe wants to do good, and it wants to help you in bringing these ideas, these things that you want to create and bring forth to fruition. So just being open to that through your crown chakra. So to start this practice, we'll just start with a simple breath practice. So you're going to, as you inhale, just let your arms come out to your sides. You can imagine you're kind of gathering up that energy with your hands and then bringing it back into those chakra centers. So we'll do 2 breaths to each area, just inhaling, opening your arms up, and exhaling, bringing that energy in. So move a little bit higher now to your navel area. Now opening, you can raise your arms a little bit higher with each opening, bringing your hands over your heart, connecting with that love and compassion. Your arms come a little higher and then come gently, just touch your fingers on your throat or near your throat, opening up that communication. Now moving to that third eye center, welcoming those imaginative or intuitive ideas that might come to mind. And then finally opening a little higher still, bringing that energy into your crown, connecting with your higher power, that universal positive energy. And then just let your hands float down to your lap. You can soften or close your eyes. And just notice what comes up for you without judgment, just being open to whatever this practice brings forth for you. From here, we'll make our way up to standing, so take your time. You can set your block off to the side. Just going to check in, make sure the recording is going well. Okay. Now from standing, we'll do a similar thing. So you'll just inhale your arms open, gather up that energy with your hands, and then just bring it down to these lower chakras. 2 times to each location. Maybe you alternate which hand comes in first for a little extra challenge if you feel like that. Now to your Manipura, your area of transformation and action. Up to your heart, Anahata. Compassion and love. You could, if you want to, begin to challenge your balance a little bit. Come up on your toes as you inhale and you open your arms. Coming towards the throat now. Just lowering your heels as you exhale and you bring your hands back in towards your body, gathering that energy in. Now to that third eye, your intuition and imagination. Finally raising your arms overhead, gathering that positive energy of the universe and bringing it down towards your crown. Again, just letting your arms float down. You can soften or close your eyes. Just take a moment in your mountain pose. You can blink your eyes open. We'll come now into Warrior One. So you can step your right foot forward, your left foot back. I'm going to turn to the side here. So just right foot comfortably forward, left foot back. Your legs will be about hip width apart. So similar to your Tadasana pose, just your right foot forward, your left foot back. Your left toes might be turned out to the side a bit. And just make sure you can comfortably bend into that right knee. You don't want your knee going out too far over your ankle. So you might adjust your stance there. Once you feel nice and comfortable with your legs, just check your body. You want it aligned towards the front of your mat. So you might even draw that right femur back in a bit. And then we'll begin with the arm movements and the breath again. So as you inhale, you're just going to open your arms down low to start. Bend into that right knee. And then as you exhale, you can straighten your knee a bit as you bring your hands into those lower chakras, gathering that energy and bringing it in. We'll come a little bit higher now. Maybe just, you might put one hand over your belly, one hand over your heart. Inhaling to open, exhaling, drawing back in. A little bit higher, maybe your fingertips come towards your throat. And then higher still, you could choose to bring your hands to that third eye center, maybe to the crown of your head. And then you can just stay here in your warrior one. Reach your arms up. Just let that energy flow down in. Just check in with your legs as your outer edge of your left foot grounded, giving you that strong, firm base. Few more rounds of breath here. And then you can float your hands back down. Just step your left foot up a little bit towards your right. We're going to come now into pyramid pose, just gently folding over that right leg, sliding your hands down. We're going to come up and down a few times and then eventually stay. So you might want to block up by that right foot for when we eventually stay here. But just to start with, we'll exhale as we fold forward over the leg. And inhale back up. As you exhale and you come forward, really feel your abdominal muscles engaging, helping you complete that exhale, but also providing that support. As you inhale and you begin to lift back up, feel your back muscles engage a bit more. This next time that you come into your pyramid pose, we'll stay here. Maybe your hands come to the ground on either side of your foot, or just rest on your shin, or you may find it more comfortable to have them on a block in front of your foot. Just let go a bit here. You might shake out your shoulders, your head. Let your neck relax. On your next breath in, we'll just come back up. You can step your left foot up to meet your right. Just take a moment in your Tadasana, your mountain pose. Maybe close down your eyes. Just take a moment to tune inward. Maybe you feel the different sensations in your right leg compared to your left. Reconnect with your breath. Just letting it come naturally in and out through your nose. And then we'll repeat that on the other side. So you can simply step your left foot forward, your right foot back. I'm going to turn to the side again. Again, your feet are about hip width apart, similar to your mountain pose. Your hips are angled towards the front of your mat. You want to make sure your stance is wide enough front and back that you can bend comfortably into that left knee. And your right toes might turn out to the side a bit for a little bit more stability. And when you're ready, you can start to bring those arm movements in with the breath. Inhaling your arms open down low to start with as you bend into your left knee. And exhale, drawing that energy down to your lower chakras. A few more times down low. And then you could bring your arms a little higher. Maybe one hand comes over your navel, one hand over your heart. You can bring your arms a little higher still. Maybe they come to your throat area, opening up that communication. And then your hands may come towards your third eye center, between your eyebrows. And then finally lifting your hands up overhead. We could just stay here in this posture. Just imagine your arms opening up and that energy funneling down from the universe, connecting with your higher power. Energy coming right down into the crown of your head. And you can just float your arms down. So you straighten through your left leg. Step your right foot in a bit. We'll get ready to come forward into pyramid pose. Maybe you readjust, draw that left femur in a bit, aligning your hips to the front. And then as you're ready, just slide your hands down your left leg as you fold forward. And then inhale back up. Engaging your abdominal muscles on your exhale, offering some support on your way down. And as you inhale, using your back muscles a bit more to help you come back up. Next time you fold forward over that left leg, you can just bring your hands to either side of your foot, or maybe they come onto a block. Let your head and neck relax. On your next inhale, you can come back up. And then just simply step your right foot up to meet your left. And take a moment again in your mountain pose, just checking in with yourself, maybe noticing the different sensations in your legs from side to side. Just noticing your breath. Maybe connecting with those different energy centers. And if there's any particular one that may need a little more help and support. And then you can blink your eyes open. We're just going to step our legs nice and wide and simply come into a wide leg forward fold. So you might slide your hands down your legs. And then just inhale back up. And then once more. This time you can stay here for a few rounds of breath. You might bring your hands just to the ground in front of your face. Let your shoulders and your head relax. Or maybe your hands come onto a block. On your next inhale, we'll come back up. And then you can take your feet in a little bit, but still a pretty wide stance. You want your toes turned out to the sides. And then as you inhale, just bring your arms up overhead. And then as you exhale, you're going to slide your right arm down the inside of your left. I'll mirror you. And bend into your knees a little bit, so you're sitting down a bit. Your hand can come right towards the center of your body. And then you'll just inhale back up, sliding your hand back along your arms. Your hands come up overhead through center, and then just slide your left hand down the inside of your right arm as you bend back into your knees. You'll inhale back up to center, and then exhale, bring your hands down in front of your heart as you bend into your knees. You might take your gaze and turn your eyes up towards your third eye here. This is Bhavasana, or ideation pose, that helps you to connect with that center of intuition. We'll inhale back up again. We'll start that arm sliding once more, just sliding your right hand down the inside of your left as you bend into your knees and sit a little deeper. Inhale back up to the center again, and then left hand slides down your right. Inhale back up to center again, and this time your arms can float behind you. Again, you could bend into your knees, sit back a little bit. Your hands can point down or they can point up. And again, your gaze can turn up towards your third eye center just to connect with that center of intuition. We'll do 2 more rounds like that. So inhaling, arms float up overhead. As you exhale, bend into your knees, slide that right hand down the inside of your left. Inhale back up overhead. And left hand slides down your right and comes to settle over your heart. Inhale back up to center, and hands float down in front. Gaze can turn up towards that third eye. We'll inhale back up overhead, sliding down the arms once more. And this time your hands float behind your back, either fingertips pointed up or down. And gaze again can turn towards the third eye. One more round. We'll inhale, arms up, and sliding down. Your arm that's floating down just comes down to about shoulder height. This time hands float down the center in front. A few breaths here. Connecting with that center of intuition. And then we'll inhale, arms up overhead again, sliding down. This time maybe you turn your gaze over towards the left. Follow those fingertips back up overhead and then over to the right. Hands come down in front. Maybe they're supposed to go behind. We'll do one more round just in case. Sliding hands down. Over to the other side. Back up to center. And then this time you let your hands float down behind your back. Gaze can turn up towards your third eye. Even if your eyes are closed. Nice. Come back up to standing. Just shake that out a bit. And then we're going to make our way down onto the mat. We'll do a little gentle flow here. So first we'll just start out in tabletop position. Your hips over your knees, your shoulders over your wrists. Your hands might be on blocks if that's a little bit more comfortable for your wrists. To start our flow, as you exhale, you're just going to lower your forearms down to the mat. Lower your hips towards your heels like we're coming into a child's pose. But we're going to flow here. So we're going to inhale back up to tabletop. And you might exhale back to child's pose one more time. Inhaling back to tabletop. This time you have the option, you can tuck your toes under. Lift your knees up and then send your hips high and back for downward facing dog. We'll inhale back to tabletop, setting your knees back down. And then as you exhale, just set your forearms down, sit your hips towards your heels for child's pose. Inhale back to tabletop, and then option to go into downward facing dog again. Inhale back to tabletop. Exhale to child's pose. Inhale back to tabletop. And then your choice here, you can either tuck your toes under, lift your knees, and send your hips high and back for downward facing dog, or come into a child's pose. We'll be here for a few rounds of breath. Just stretching out that whole spine. Letting energy flow through all those chakra centers. And from here, you can come back to your tabletop, whether you were in downward facing dog or child's pose. Just let the feet relax for a moment. Just come to kneeling. You might want to look at this here for a moment. I'm going to show you how we, a few options for rabbit pose. So this will put a little pressure on that top center, or that top crown area of your head. So the first option would, from your kneeling, you can just set your hands down on the mat in front of you. You're going to tuck your chin in so the top of your head comes down onto the mat, and your hands are here so you don't put a lot of pressure into the top of your head. Just be really mindful if this is not good for your neck. You know, you just don't want to put a lot of pressure here. Keep your hands there. Maybe you do a little gentle rocking front and back. And then you can come back up out of that. Now I'll show you one more option you could do for your rabbit pose here. You could do that again, particularly if you have anything with your neck that you want to be a little bit more cautious about. Or you could, I like to tuck my toes under for this option. You can bring your hands back to your heels. And similarly, you just tuck your chin in. So you set the top of your head down on the mat. Your hands might be back on your heels or your ankles here. And again, you just rock a little forward and back, just stimulating that crown area. And then carefully, you might release your hands, bring them back by the sides of your head, and just press yourself back up. here, we can just sit back to a child's pose. You might take your knees a little bit wider. Big toes might come to touching back. You want your forehead here to be able to make connection with something. So if you stretch your arms out long and your forehead doesn't come down to the ground, you could take a block or maybe a couple of books and just bring that underneath your forehead. So you can press your forehead into something and just gently rock your head a little side to side. So you're stimulating that third eye center right between your eyebrows. Few more rounds of breath here. And you can walk your hands back in. We're going to come now onto our backs. So you can lay on back. You can start with your feet on the ground, your knees just up towards the ceiling. We're going to do a little bit of twisting here. So I recommend, just for a little extra support, sending your arms out from your shoulders. Your palms can be down towards the ground. We're going to do a little moving twist. So as we get set up to go here, just lift your feet up off the mat. You can flex your ankles so you can peek up and see your toes. And then you're just going to let your knees, as you exhale, gently fall a little ways over to the right, maybe just about a third of the way down. As you inhale, bring them back up through center. And then as you exhale, let them fall a little to the left. Inhale back to center. And exhale, let your knees fall to the right. And inhaling back to center. Now you might feel that work here in that core of your body, that area of transformation and digestion. These twists are really good for stimulating that area. If you wanted to have a little more work here, you could perhaps extend your top leg as you twist to the side. Or maybe you even extend both legs, but not necessary. Just take at the level that's comfortable for you. So you can be nice and supported. Not twisting too far. You might draw your legs back in if you had them extended. This time as you twist to the right, just let your knees land. They might land on the ground, or maybe you bring a block down under your knees or between your legs. Now we're going to settle in and stay here for a little bit, so you can turn your palms up towards the ceiling, and you may bring the twist a little bit higher, even getting up into that throat area. If you turn your face over your left shoulder, and then just settling in here, you could soften or close your eyes. Be here for 4 or 5 rounds of breath. If you had your face turned over to the side, just turn it back up towards the ceiling. And then you can just let your knees rock back up to the center. Just kind of resetting. You can lift your feet back up, stacking your knees over your hips. If you had a block on your right side, you might want to move that over to your left. And then just gently let your legs fall to the left. Maybe they come on top of the block, or that block might come between your legs. Palms could turn back up towards the ceiling. And if it's okay for your neck, you could turn your face over your right shoulder. Just make any adjustments to find a little more comfort here. We'll stay here for 4 or 5 rounds of breath. As we prepare to come out of the twist, just start by turning your face back up towards the ceiling. And then just let your knees rock back up to center. You can hug your knees in towards your chest, maybe drawing them in and out a few times. If you like, you might even rock a little along your spine. And then maybe you rock all the way back up to seated, or you could just turn over to your side. Use your hands to press into the ground and bring yourself back up to seated. We're going to do a little seated twist here now that we've kind of prepared our spine with the reclined twist. So you can start by just crossing your left leg over your right. I'll do the opposite, so across my right leg over. You could bring a block back by your left hip so that you can set your hand on that block, just making sure your spine is nice and long. You want to create that space so your vertebrae can comfortably turn around each other. And then as you're ready, just inhale that right arm up, and then you're just going to cross it across over your left leg. Just being mindful, you're not using your arm like a crowbar. You don't want to really force your spine any more than it would comfortably go. Again, you might turn your face over your shoulder as well. Bringing that twist all the way up through your spine. You can release your arm, coming back to center. You can take your left leg and send it out long. You're just going to draw your sole of your right foot to the inside of that left leg. I'll back up a little bit here. So your left leg's out long. Your right knee is bent and open to the side. We're just going to come into a forward fold over that long left leg. You can slide your hands up and down the leg a few times, kind of settling in, easing into the stretch, I like to say. And then eventually you might stay here in the fold for a bit longer. You might bring some blocks in to support your forehead, maybe stacking a couple blocks on top of each other, or you might bend your elbow, setting your elbow on the block and bringing your palm up to your forehead. And just take 4 or 5 rounds of breath here. can slowly come back up. We'll twist to the other side now. So just bringing your legs back in. This time you're, let's see, I think I mirrored you. I'll have my left leg up. I think you'll have your right leg up here. You can bring your block over by your right hips, pressing your hand into the block, getting nice and tall through your spine. And then just inhale your left arm up and cross it over. Or you could simply just hug your leg here as well. Maybe your gaze turns and looks over your shoulder. A few more breaths here. And then just coming back to the front. You're going to send your right leg out long. Just slide your left leg a little bit more out to the sides, keeping your left knee bent, the sole of that left foot to the inside of your right leg, or the other side if you did the other side before. And then we'll get set up for this forward fold over the long leg. So just getting ready, you might slide your hands down your leg as you exhale, and then inhale back up. Maybe you slide up and down a few times. And then eventually we'll stay here in the forward fold for 4 or 5 rounds of breath. You might bring a little support in under your forehead. You can flex that ankle, draw your toes back in towards your shin. Have a little soft bend in your knee. On your next inhale, just come back up, walking your hands in. We're going to come back onto our back this time with, just take your time. You can have your knees bent up towards the ceiling. We're going to come into bridge pose and do a little moving bridge pose here. We'll start just nice and simple. Your arms can rest down by your sides, your palms facing down towards the ceiling. Just want your heels in a little close to your hips. Maybe you can brush them with your tips of your fingers. And then as you inhale, you're just going to lift your hips up off the mat. And then as you exhale, slowly roll back down to your spine. Just inhaling, lifting up, and exhaling back down. Now this time, if you want to bring a little more movement as you lift your hips, you might send your arms overhead all the way so that your backs of your hands reach the ground up overhead. And as you exhale, just lower your hips down. You can leave your hands overhead. And this time, inhale, lift your hips back up. And as you exhale, lower your hips and lower your hands down together. We'll do one more time like that. As you inhale, you can lift your hips. Maybe you bring your arms into it as well. As you exhale, lower your hips, reach your arms away. Inhale to lift your hips up again, and then exhale, float your arms down. This time you can lift your knees up, just hug them in towards your chest, or maybe do a few rounds of Apanasana. As you exhale, you can draw your knees in. As you inhale, let them float back away. Now for this last posture, I'm going to show you an option to do fish pose. You will need a couple of blocks for this, or even, actually you could use a rolled up blanket or an extra mat if you have it. So I'm going to show you with the blocks, which is how I typically do this, but I'll also show you with the mat, because I have an extra one over here. You could use a rolled mat or a rolled blanket. With fish pose, you really are just kind of opening up the spine, letting your shoulders open and your shoulders draw back a bit. So you can see how my arms are nice and open here. The chest opens up, and then you'd have the option to tip your head back so you'll open up through that throat center as well. So you can see with my blocks here, I have one in the medium height and then one in the lowest height. So my shoulders are going to drape open over this slightly higher block, and then I'm going to tip my head back and have this other block as sort of a pillow for my head. Now sometimes people don't like that opening up as much. You might have both blocks in the that medium height. You just want to find kind of an area that's comfortable for you. You might play around with this a little bit and kind of have the block so it's supporting both sides of the shoulder blades there. You don't want it on your spine so much as just kind of with those shoulder blades supported. You can let your shoulders spill open and your arms rest comfortably by your side. You can see how I have my head tipped back a bit and just landing on that second block. Alternately, you can use the rolled blanket or rolled mat along your spine. And then just let your arms open. Let your shoulders drop down and roll in a bit. We'll be here for 8 or 10 more rounds of breath. You can slowly lift yourself back up. You can move those props out of the way. And we'll make our way into Shavasana for final relaxation. You might take that rolled blanket or that rolled mat and set it under your knees. Or if you don't like your legs out long, you could bring your feet in. Them a little wider and just let your knees drop in towards each other. You can still kind of tuck your shoulder blades under, let your chest open, your arms rest comfortably by your sides. Just letting go of any remaining effort. letting your body soften and relax and be supported by the earth. As you're in your Shavasana, I'm just going to take you through a little simple visualization as I mention the different chakra centers. You can just focus your energy there for a moment. We'll start at the root, or the base, the Muladhara. Moving up a little higher, moving higher still to your navel, Manipura. Moving up to Anahata, your heart, the Shuddha, behind the throat, Agnya, that third eye, and Sahasrara at your crown. Moving back down, Sahasrara, Agnya, the Shuddha, Anipura, Anahata, Manipura, Svadhisthana, Muladhara. Letting all these energy centers be open, working towards the greater good. It's now time to reawaken your body. You might start by deepening your breath a bit, bringing a little movement into your fingers, your toes, perhaps circling your wrists and your ankles. Could feel good to send your arms overhead, point your toes, maybe stretch a little from side to side. And then I invite you to hug your knees in towards your chest, drawing them in one and then the other. Just wrap your arms around your legs, giving yourself a hug. Taking a moment of appreciation for yourself that you took this time for your practice to connect with those energy centers. Moving beyond just your physical body. But then taking a moment of appreciation for this physical body. Sending some gratitude to your body for all that it does for you. When you're ready, you can roll onto your side. Just cradle your head and your arm for a few breaths. And then using your hands, you can press into the ground, bringing yourself back up to seated. And then I invite you to join me as we close out our practice together and bringing your hands out to your sides. As we take one breath in together, bring your hands up overhead, scooping up all this loving, positive, healing energy that you cultivated with your practice. And then drawing that energy down towards your heart, bowing to yourself, acknowledging this light, this love, this energy is always inside of you, for you to tap into when you need it. And then we bow to each other, acknowledging that light, that energy that exists in each and every one of us. Thank you so much for sharing in this practice today. I hope you enjoyed connecting with your chakra centers. I'll also have a yin practice, going through some different postures for the chakras, and I have a yoga nidra on the chakras as well, some beautiful lotus visualizations. I hope you maybe check those out as well. Thank you. Namaste.